All right, we're here. So
We're here.
all right, hey guys, welcome to the Search and Seizure show. So the thing is, we have a lot of new people today. We've been doing kind of like a what is it, a bender? Because
Sure.
I've been teaching all day. We then I taught planes, trains, automobile just now, and now we're transitioning to the show. So a lot of people don't know you, Mike. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Boone. I work for the great company of Blue to Gold. So, like
Boom.
my friend here likes to say, "Who's my boss?"
I'm your boss.
You're my boss.
Yeah.
But I more consider you my friend.
Definitely first and foremost.
I'm also a police officer. Been a cop for a little over 20 years. Done some various things. Done some detective work, some training stuff, and primarily now I teach at our academy, specializing in search and seizure type training.
Now we don't share what agency Mike works with. That's not that's what the agency wants. But I can tell you that he works with one of the finest agencies in the nation, and we're proud to have him. So, as far as I'm concerned, my name is for those who don't know me, my name is Anthony Bandiero. I'm an attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training. This is what I do for a living. I have the honor and the privilege to train cops all around the nation in search and seizure. So this show is really designed as the podcast, right? It's designed to get questions answered by you. So here's the deal. Here's a little bit of ground rules. If you have a question that you want to ask, let me know. Just say in the chat or on YouTube. Actually, YouTube. What's up, Sarge? So this is a guy on YouTube actually watches me also on a show called Leo Roundtable. So he's here. That's nice to have you here, brother. So anyway, so if you want to ask a question, you can only ask a question if you're actually on Zoom. So just say me, Mike, and so forth. We have our first caller on deck. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
You sure?
I'm sure.
All right, Justin, hold on. All right, hold on, Justin, and then Gerald will get to you next.
Look, I'm sitting on your lap.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Why don't you
scoot over a little
scoot
bit?
over a little bit? Come on. This is fucking
What's
weird.
going on here, everybody?
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
we're both married.
There we go.
Is it Justin Pearson? Yeah. All right, you should be good. Justin, you should see an alert or a dialog box saying unmute.
Thanks, Gerald. Yeah, we don't make you guys uncomfortable out there, you know.
Don't get weird. I think you're jealous, is what you are. He's jealous.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, Justin. I don't know what's going on with your mic. Oh, you hit the button? And here, let me. I mean, I'm hitting it on my end. Ask to unmute. Let's do it one more time. Ask to unmute.
What are you trying to say, Brian?
Let's do this, Justin. Let's try Gerald, and let's see if his works. If it doesn't, then we have a problem. So, all right. I'm gonna move. Gerald, we're gonna put you on deck here.
I think our crowd's getting a little unruly out there.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Gerald. Here. Let's see if Gerald's mic works.
Does your mic work?
Can you hear me?
What's up, brother? Yep.
Gotcha. So I typed the question before I realized I was going to be put on the spot to speak here. First, thanks for the training. This is awesome every time I attend.
Thank you.
So my question is, in the last show, you explained that an open container search for alcohol does not include the trunk of a vehicle. If I'm searching a car for drugs, does that include the trunk? And why or why not is that different?
Okay, so look, so in you can correct me if you're wrong, right? Because you're Maryland, I'm Nevada, right? So if your law does not prohibit open containers in a trunk, then you can't search for evidence related to that offense in the trunk, right? I mean, there's no violation for having open containers in a trunk. So in Nevada, open containers are prohibited in passenger compartments. So we wouldn't be good into a trunk. But I assume that's the same thing for Maryland, right?
It is, yeah, passenger compartment. Yeah, now that you mentioned it that way, it does make sense, yeah.
Now, if you are making an arrest for an offense that's related to narcotics, let's say possession of methamphetamine, and you have a reason to believe that there's more evidence of that crime in the passenger compartment, trunk, whatever, you can search it. And you don't need PC. You just need a reason to believe. However, let me ask you, Mike, one thing that kind of comes up sometimes is sometimes cops will have both PC, and of course, reason to believe. In their report, should they actually just articulate PC or the lower standard?
I would articulate the higher standard. You've got probable cause, which it was when you look at the scale, the hierarchy of things, that's where Gantt came from, right? A reason to believe, because if it was just based on reasonable suspicion, well, Gantt didn't give us,
Carroll?
No, Arizona versus Gantt. Sorry, geez.
Yeah.
If the burden was still reasonable suspicion, then Gantt didn't do anything for us. So when you look at the hierarchy, you got reasonable suspicion, reasonable belief, and then probable cause. So if you've got the factors, I articulate the higher factor.
Now, one thing too, Mike, is that the other thing I look at this is that we've had over 100 years of case law involving Carroll versus,
That's been a long time.
And it's just the courts are more comfortable with upholding a PC search than this newer, what's it, 2015, this newer Gantt search. So anyway, that's the answer. You get to search where the evidence is, but it has to be related to the crime. Open container versus drugs are different. Good to go?
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, my
You're
friend.
welcome, sir.
All right. So, all right. So anybody else on deck? Justin, we can try you. Justin, you want to try one more time? All right. Let's in the meantime, all right, let's try one more time. I'm hoping that it's because it shouldn't be on our end. Hopefully it'll work. Oh, okay. All right. Justin here. We have a lot of people here tonight, so it's great. Okay, buddy, you should be able to hit the button and ask your question.
Hello, Justin.
Now, one thing why he's trying to figure that out is because I want to give, tech issues are always, it's a challenge, right? This is not a typical call-in show. So let's start asking that we do have a list of questions that have come in. So Justin, until, if you figure it out, just speak up and then we're going to start answering another question. So we do have a question from an officer in Tennessee, and he says basically it's about frisks, right? So let me ask you this: the officer is involved in an encounter, and he wants to know. Look, I'm just looking at the thing. All right, so can we pat people down because factors like backup is 25 minutes away? He has to remove 3 occupants from the vehicle, and let's say, is that enough? Is that enough to pat people down because you have 3 occupants and backup 25 minutes away?
They are factors. And again, when we talk about things, we always talk about the T, the O to the C. You'll hear us talk about that a lot here at Blue to Gold. So those are things to consider. And the burden is armed and dangerous, right? And that comes from the great case of Terry. And I would love to tell my story sometime about. Well, I'm going to tell it right now, real quick.
Go ahead.
It'll take 2 seconds. Here.
Go ahead.
I had an hour to spend in downtown Cleveland. Not that long because I was teaching for Blue to Gold here. And I know you know Anthony, and some of you know me. I've taught some of your old classes. You know that we kind of geek out over this stuff a little bit here. So I had the opportunity to make my way to downtown Cleveland to 13th Street and Euclid, where I stood after I parked illegally, mind you.
You probably not the only one.
Right. And I stood on the corner right there, and I stood on the very steps of the corner right there where one Detective McFadden stood many years ago and watched Mr. Terry walk back and forth in front of this place and made the Terry stop that we all talk about here. And the birth of that was reasonable suspicion stops and our ability to pat people down.
Right.
And just not a bigger smile on my face than on that corner.
You're part of history. I mean,
it really was.
Just so you were clear here, there is a historical placard where Mike was standing, and that's really cool.
Did he work for like 30 some odd years as a
cop? He worked for 38 years for the Cleveland Police Department. And I gotta tell you, Mike, if you have worked for 38 years for a police department, I know one thing about you.
What's that?
You hate your wife.
What am?
Or you have a bad retirement system because you have multiple ex-wives. Either way, the wife is involved.
All right. So back on point here. Where the birth of that case gave us the ability to pat people down, put hands on people, to do a frisk of a person for weapons. So the factors that we look at is that burden, armed and dangerous. Now, backup being 25 minutes away. That's a concern, especially we're talking about 3 occupants outnumbering the person. But there's a little bit, probably more to that, as vanilla, as plain as you made that.
Look, and I got to tell you, Mike, like in my legal brain, I'm looking at why are we even pulling these people over for littering, or are we talking about for armed robbery? So
there's going to be factors.
Yeah. So look, all right. I think look, this cop is looking for basic advice, but you hit it on the head with your first statement, which is TOC, totality of circumstances. All you have to have is reasonable suspicion. It's a very low standard. It's a moderate chance for armed and dangerous. Okay. If you believe like, hey, look, I could lose my life or I could be very injured in this situation, then you pat them down. But the one thing that you have to do is articulate. Mike, what is the most powerful word in the police report?
Because that's it. It forces you to provide information. You say because, the words that follow after that are going to justify and articulate what you did.
Yeah. Also, I want to tell you that I don't like you right now because I look very pale compared to you, and you look like you've been to the Bahamas. And
I wish I had, but no.
All right. Well, I still don't like you. You know, you didn't have an excuse. So let's talk about an officer from Illinois. Okay, Illinois. So
We in Illinois for a while.
Did you really? Where in Illinois?
Troy. My dad was in the Air Force.
All right, cool. So there are a lot of hardworking cops in Illinois.
Yes.
They have a very tough job. So we had a domestic battery call where an offender broke into the victim's residence, battered her, stole her cell phone. This guy's not a good dude. He fled the scene before police arrived. He then returned later, and the police came. They cleared. They couldn't find this guy. He came a third time. Okay, now the cops. Okay, so this guy is crazy. So look, the cops arrive and they see his automobile. Now, he stole her phone, and I want to say he stole some other things. Hold on. Okay, actually, let's just go with the phone. So we know that he stole her cell phone.
Correct.
All right. So the offender is back for the third time. 911, they get there. They find his car. It's unoccupied.
Okay.
But they find him about 3 blocks away. They detain him. Actually, they arrest him because they have the probable cause.
Right.
The car is on a city street, parked. They look into the car. They see the phone. Well,
I like this. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you tell it.
Well, they call it. They have her number, right? They call it and they see it ringing, and lo and behold, they can see their number pop up on her screen. So no doubt, that's her phone, correct?
Yep. Now, can we open that car and seize that cell phone?
Well, I think most of your folks here earlier were in your class, right? So probable cause, absolutely. You said parked on a city street, so not on the curtilage there. Appears to be mobile. It wasn't there before, it is now, so that's pretty like easy sell. And so we can make that entry, and our scope's going to be for that phone. And I think there's a little follow-up in there if you want to continue on there. But yeah,
what was the follow-up?
I think they're talking about they had a hunch or something that maybe there's some drugs in that they wanted to find out about. But it sounded to me like it was hunch-ish, not enough to expand that scope. Okay, look, and we just talked about in our last class, we talked about searching vehicles with reason to believe offense-related evidence. Well, look, he is arrested for home invasion. Right.
Are drugs related directly to home invasion?
Directly? No. Causative?
Probably. Correct. Causative, they're correlated. All right.
Yeah.
So you're not searching that car for drugs under these facts.
Right.
Okay, because you're not arresting him for a drug.
But to enter and get that phone, absolutely.
100%. Should you probably call a locksmith?
It's
break the window.
Most reasonable to call a locksmith.
All right. So also, look, I can see a lot of questions on the chat, but here's the deal. We have a rule here. I want you to get on the mic. Please, Clint, if you want to ask a question, please say Mike, me, and so forth. Let's get you on the mic because that's what this show is supposed to be about. And that's really the best way to deliver the information. So, okay. All right. Justin says let's give Justin one more try.
I like your perseverance, Justin.
I think Justin owes us a challenge coin.
Right.
Yeah. Come on, Justin. I believe in you, brother. Ready?
Can you hear me?
Oh, my man.
Here we go.
All right. What you got?
I like it.
All right. So if the scope for the traffic stop, the unspoken rule is about 15 minutes. If you're on a traffic stop, you have a K9 already there, and now you're getting to about 17 minutes. The K9 handler tells you the dog alerted on the car at about that 17-minute mark. So you go and search the car. Would that be an unreasonable search?
Before Mike answers your question, what state are you in?
Utah.
Okay.
Utah's.
Yeah, Utah's good to go. Yeah.
So Justin, a couple of things here. I have the 15-minute number you're throwing out there. Is that just an estimate of how long your experience it takes you to do a stop, write a ticket, and send somebody on their way? Is that where that number's coming from?
Yeah, about.
All right. So realistically, when we look at this about the extension of stops, there's a few things that come into mind here. It's the courts expect us to be diligently pursuing and staying on the mission of the stop. So for whatever your stop was for, let's just say it's a traffic violation. The courts expect you to stay on that mission, stay focused on that, and be diligently pursuing that. If you deviate from that without any reasonable suspicion or any reason to articulate away from that, then any measure beyond that initial scope is going to be looked at as an extension of the stop. But there are a few things that we can do to alleviate that. We talk about things like multitasking, backup officers, and it sounds like here is your canine with you there from the inception of the stop, or are we waiting for them to get there?
Once the stop was made, he was immediately called. He was there about 9 minutes after. The issue, he when he first deployed the dog, it was the first time the dog been out of the car that day. So it wasn't really ready to work yet.
Take a break.
Yeah, so we put it back in the car and then brought it out a short time later.
The question that's going to come up is, did you stop or delay what you were doing on the traffic mission to buy time for that dog
Absolutely.
to do their sniff?
That's the money question.
And that's going to be the question. If you do it while you are actively writing the ticket or the warning or running the DL status, you're fine. But if there's any up to like 9 seconds at times or minute seconds the courts have looked at to stray away from that mission to run the dog, the courts have had issue with it.
So answer that question. At the end of the day, when we look at the time of the beginning of the stop, at the time of the alert, did you, or whoever I know, right? Did you continue that stop without taking a break because of the dog?
No.
Then we have a problem. You cannot, a traffic stop here, and this is a very harsh rule, okay? A traffic stop cannot be extended for even a few seconds, like Mike said, to run a canine without what?
Reasonable suspicion.
Now, did you have reasonable suspicion?
Yeah, he's a known drug user.
Go ahead.
Known drug user, drug seller, everything in the book, really.
Well, you say everything in the book, but you know that has to be in writing. So here's the deal. I'm just saying.
Well, those are the questions the courts are going to ask you.
Yeah, the most powerful word in the police force is the word because. So look, I know that cops are not stupid. You know who the people are involved in criminal activity. But at the end of the day, if you're going, there's two ways you can go with canines. Okay, you can go the free air, a true free air sniff, which is Illinois versus Cabalas, which is where the dog is deployed during a traffic stop. Here's the rule. If you're going to go that route, you better not extend a traffic stop for even a few seconds. If you're going to go in line with Rodriguez, you better have reasonable. Well, Rodriguez is all about unlawfully extending a stop, but if you're going to be in line with Rodriguez, you can extend the traffic stop with reasonable suspicion. And if the court believes you have reasonable suspicion, you're good to go. You're going to win that case. But if not, you're going to lose it. That's what it comes down to.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
No, thank you. All right. So, who also had a question? I think somebody else had a question. But before, just say me or Mike, and I will get you next. Let's just do okay, 1 second, Joshua. Let's just do a question real quick. So, all right. So, look, this is a kind of a quick one. Okay, you're from Missouri, right?
Yes, sir.
You're from Missouri. So, while driving down the highway, I pulled up upon an SUV with 5 occupants.
Okay.
The rear center occupant starts turning around, looking at the cop while we're doing the traffic stop. The driver is also looking at his rear view mirror. Okay, so we have a lot of staring going on.
All right.
Their story that they just left a restaurant and they were headed home. That's their story. All occupants have a history of drug use. Kind of sounds what we just talked about now. I asked the driver to step out. He admitted to his drug history, but says that there's nothing in the car and denies consent to search. Since we just got off this dog case, is this, with these facts alone, is this enough to deploy a canine around that car?
Yeah, so they end up stopping for a PC violation over the fog line.
Yes. A moving violation.
Yes, a moving violation. No.
Yeah.
I really don't think so. If you cops pull behind you, what do we all do? Bullshit.
Yeah.
And hey, dude, cops behind us. And
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Look in your rearview mirror. So I don't see anything strikingly suspicious about their behavior when we pull up behind them.
Yeah, look, and here's the deal, okay? The cop is not stupid. The cop has probably years of experience doing this job, and he's like, look, this is not normal what I'm used to. However, a lot of this stuff comes off as hunches. You don't need to convince me. I believe that the cop is probably dealing with people who probably have, because I was a
100%.
cop. You know, when you say when Mike tells me, hey, this guy was furtive, man, super furtive. I know what Mike means. When I tell an uninvolved person, dude, that dude was furtive, they're like, man, was he in the bedroom, like with his wife? So you need to articulate what more than this. A judge is going to read this and they're going to say, looking at the cops, which is normal, looking at the cop was approaches, cop people do that, and drug history, that's not enough. That's what they're going to say. So they have a blank slate. They're not thinking like you, which is, dude, I know this person. So the most powerful word in a police report is the word
because.
All right, Joshua Heath, you are on deck. Hold on, my friends. And man, we have a lot of people here tonight. I'm glad you guys are here. So Joshua Heath, hold on. Got to get through all these. Okay, here we go. All right, Josh, you should see it on your end.
All right, you got me?
Yes,
Gotcha.
we do.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm listening from Georgia. So my question is, it's a canine question on a traffic stop. So if we have somebody that stops a vehicle, they're on a regular traffic stop, nothing crazy, and they decide to call a canine to the stop. And during the stop, the canine responds, gives a positive alert. And for no other reason other than just bringing the driver out of the vehicle, they automatically search the driver first before the vehicle. Do you see any issues with that?
We don't like the word automatic. That's going to be our first thing, is as far as automatically, it's never something that sells well with the courts, with anybody.
Right.
We always have to justify everything we do. Well, but when
So,
we
the reason why I say that is because there's nothing that gives any indication that this person is acting crazy. There's no reason to frisk them. What they're doing, or I'm not going to say they, but what has been done in the past is, all right, so the canine alerts, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to pull the driver out. And the first thing I'm going to do is search the driver, period.
All right. Okay, want me to take a stab at this?
Sure, why not?
Look, here's the deal. Okay, Mike is absolutely right about these automatics. Now, I will tell you, let's start with the good news, okay? The good news is that drivers are always easier to search based on a canine alert than a passenger. But here's the rule, my friend. The rule is this. A positive canine alert does not equal probable cause to search an occupant. And the reason why we know that is goes back to 1940. What's the right? 6? I think it's 46. It goes back to, but it goes back to 1946 in a case called U.S. versus DeRye. And there the U.S. Supreme Court said probable cause for the vehicle does not equal probable cause for the occupants. And so, and there are trainers out there, by the way, and I recommend that we take training from everybody to see, soak up the good stuff. But there are trainers out there that will teach you that positive canine alert equals search of the passenger or the driver. We don't teach that at Blue to Gold because, quite frankly, it's not the law. Go ahead.
Right. So the good news is, I'm in at my agency. I'm in the training section. So, and all of the trainers that I work with, we're all on the same page with you.
Yep.
So my question is, this is all being recorded. We're going to get a copy of this recording, right?
On YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube.
Okay.
So bluetogold.com. Go ahead.
All right, good. Because what I'm going to do is I got to show this to my agency so I can show them we were all right.
You are right. You're absolutely right. If you look, I can tell you right now, my friend, if you go to court and you say, Your Honor, positive canine alert on the vehicle equals search of the driver, you are going to lose. Now, at the same time,
100% agree.
Yep. Now at the same time, is the driver of a motor vehicle easier, more? Do you have more articulation for a driver than a mere passenger? Yes, because there's a presumption that they know the contents of the vehicle, that if the vehicle has contraband in it, they are in on it, and so forth. But I'll give you an example, my friends. Why don't you just stop me for driving a rental car? Okay. And I'm not a drug user, never been, never will be. And I'm driving this rental car, and you know, a lot of rental cars have had contraband in them in the past, okay, especially in Chicago. So you stop me for speeding, you for shits and giggles, you want to run that canine around the car. It alerts. And then you start putting hands on me and searching me. No, you're not searching me because you don't have probable cause for me. I've not done anything wrong. All I did, my crime in life is I'm a speeder. Search that car. How about you search my backpack? How about you search my luggage? And if you find burnt foil, if you find marijuana, if you find drugs in my backpack, why don't you start searching me? But if you find nothing on my property, but maybe a baggie of old marijuana under the seat that some dude before this rental car left there, you ain't searching me because I'm not. Look, in my view, because you don't have probable cause for me.
Right.
That's the point there.
So are you getting that? You want to see a nexus between the car and you?
Oh, there's the word right there.
That's
Nexus.
it.
Now
There
look,
it is.
the word actually is nexus. And can I just while you're on the phone here, right? Let me just tell you that a lot of your naysayers are going to bring up a case out of the 10th Circuit called Anchondo.
Anchondo?
Okay, let me tell you about Anchondo. It is one of the most misrepresented cases. Now, there is a training company out there that loves, and I'm not talking crap about anybody because I don't care about what other people teach. I care about what I teach. But I do take a little bit of homage about, or offense a little bit about where they're saying Anchondo says you can search occupants based on canine alert. It does not say that. If you look at the cases on Anchondo, let's go through the facts. Number one is, and by for my friends, Anchondo is Anchondo out of the 10th Circuit, okay? Anchondo is a case about the Border Patrol running a dog around the car twice, 2 alerts, and the people were in the car during the alerts, during the scan. Okay, does that help? Absolutely, but most people take people out of the car. But number 3, they bring the people out of the car. Do they search Anchondo initially? No, they do not. They search the car. They find nothing. And then Anchondo says, and I quote, you will not find, I think, actually, I'm paraphrasing now, you will not find any drugs in that car. You will not find anything in that car. So what does that tell the Border Patrol? Hey, the drugs are on him. And you're ready for the last mic drop, Joshua? Anchondo is the driver. He's not the passenger. A lot of people want to say Anchondo represents searching passengers. Anchondo is the driver, which of course we both acknowledge, right? That searching drivers is always easier than searching passengers. However, go back to Durai, go back to fundamentals. Alert, PC for car does not equal PC for person. Make the nexus. There it is.
Love it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, my brother.
Lottery tickets or something weird.
It was not. It was gas rations.
Gas rations.
Gas rations. Hey, now one thing to remind my friends here: everybody who comes on this show and is live and asking the questions is going to get a challenge coin from me. Email richard@bluetogold.com. Hey, Sean Thompson, are you here? Sean, are you here?
Is that regular, Sean?
Sean, can you find Anchondo and put the citation in the chat for my friends here? Thank you.
The ride too.
Okay,
D-E-R-E-I, right?
Yeah, it's Anchondo, ANCH, ONDO, I think. 10th Circuit, 9 something. Anyway, who is up next? Who wants to answer another question? Okay. In the meantime, look, say you want to ask a question, but let me do something from our officer in Houston, Texas. I was dispatched to Gerald. Hold on one second. I see that from Rick. I was dispatched to a residence where the reportee or the reporter stated that the suspect had been shooting his handgun in the ground and in the air in a residential neighborhood.
Right, this is Texas.
It fucking is. That's probably not. It's probably not illegal.
Moving on.
I mean, what's the question?
Yeah, where's the?
Okay, so he was at one point he was in his vehicle, okay, and the reporter, actually I think it's his brother.
Yes.
The reporter, the reporting party, the RP, or the person reporting, like you guys like to say.
Yes.
So PR, RP, tomato. So they're like, that's actually his brother, and he says to the cops, "Hey, my brother is on drugs." So they get there, neighbors, 2 witnesses are like, yeah, this dude was shooting a gun in the air, not cool. And they take him into custody, for probably some, various mental issues and so forth. All right. Now, the suspect, I'm sorry, the defendant's car is in the driveway. He tells the cop, you ready for this? Not my car. Okay. So then we have that fact. Then the cops want to search the car and they want to search his room. Inside his room, back up. So they got the brother's consent to search the defendant's room. Let's imagine it's his room. It's not cohabitants and so forth in the same room. Okay, they find evidence in the room. They find evidence in the car. Are we good?
So a lot going on here, a little bit here, but let's break it down here. So we talk about the car. He was in the car and he disclaims ownership. All right, not my car. And I don't know if brother claimed ownership of it, but that's not part of the thing here. So we can look at this as, well, he doesn't have an expectation of privacy of the car. He says, not mine. Right. So he doesn't have reasonable expectation of privacy inside that car.
Can I interrupt you just for 1 second? Because sometimes cops will say, hey, is this your car? The guy say no. Is there a better way to establish abandonment?
There is.
What's the words?
Do you have anything to do with this?
And why is that matter? Why can't we just say, is this your car?
It's a better response question. If you're married, I know you're married, right? I know you hold the purse sometimes.
Yep.
And is that your purse?
No, it's not.
Oh, so I can search it.
Right.
Because you've abandoned it, right?
Now, another thing, maybe he's borrowing from a friend. The other words is that it's just a more concrete way of establishing abandonment. So
it gives you better answers.
Now the car is abandoned. We can search the car.
Yes.
Okay. What about the room?
So the question going to be for the room here is, what is the relationship with those brothers? They live in the same house here, but we need to find out a little bit about what apparent authority the brother has. Does he have the ability to, because I believe it's based on consent, us going inside the house, right? So we go inside that house, it's based on the brother's consent. We need to ask questions to find out, does he have an authority type position in that room? Does he have apparent authority over this? Does he have access, dominion, and control over his brother's room? And if he does, then we're fine.
Yeah. If
he doesn't, if he's been excluded, he doesn't go in the room, the expectation that the brother doesn't want him in there ever, then there's an argument that he can't say we can go in there. So I think that'd be an issue.
I agree. I think the car is good. I think the room, just like you said, I think we have a problem with that room. We have to find out more depending on that, but I don't think we should be going to people's rooms unless we have exigency, which we don't here because he's gone,
right? Or
a search warrant, or maybe the guy will give consent.
Maybe so.
All right, Gerald, do you want to ask another question live? And where's your pen at?
Oh, it should be in my sweet pocket.
Where is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Here.
All right. I need it. All right, Gerald, you're going to be on deck. Let's see here. Gerald Eaton. All right, my friend.
Gerald, we appreciate you staying up late.
Yeah, you're on the East Coast.
Oh, I am way on the East Coast. 11 or 10:51 p.m. where I am.
Ooh, man, that's past my bedtime.
Yeah, mine too. The problem is, I think you may have already answered my question. I was going to go back to, because I've been to many of Anthony's classes online and in person. I was going to go back to the whole, do you have anything to do with statement? And as a guy who worked in a school policing unit for like 10 years, I used that all the time. It was great. It worked wonders. The question was, does it extend to other things beyond bags? Jackets that may be hanging on chairs, or cell phones, or cars, or whatever you could think of. Do you have anything to do with this? Like, what is the limitation on that?
Okay, I got two things on this. Right. Number one is you can abandon anything except your
children
up until they're 18.
There you go.
Unfortunately, yeah, we talked about this.
Yep. And number two, though, here's one little kind of prerequisite for this abandonment. Obviously, I can't take Mike around. And at a let's say, where would police people be hanging their coats and backpacks? Let's just say like a coat check or something. Let's say because we're in Vegas, right?
Yeah,
so
we have coats.
Yeah, we have coat checks where there's like belt, anyway. So I can't bring Mike into an area where people have their backpacks stored temporarily for, let's say they're going to a pool party and they can't bring in their backpacks, right? Because it's a safety issue and so forth. And I can't go to Mike and say, hey, do you have anything to do with that backpack right there? And he says, no. And I start searching the shit. So you are going to have, you are going to have at least a reason to believe that he, it's kind of weird because it's like, you're saying that he has no privacy insurance, but also there has to be a connection to him. Like you can't just search something because this guy says he has nothing to do with it. But usually these abandonment cases, you know, you might, Gerald, you've been a cop for a long time. You know that these cases are where they're wearing the backpack or they're carrying a piece of luggage and they say something like, oh man, you know, I have nothing to do with it. It's just, I found this and I was going to turn it into the police. So I guess that's kind of like my point, but it's almost never an issue because it is associated with them somehow and they just disown it because of you.
It's that, we talked about it before. It's that articulating constructive possession
Oh yeah.
and abandonment at the same time.
So we lawyers call that talking up both sides of the mouth at the same time. So it's like at one side we're arguing, Your Honor, this defendant has nothing to do with that bag because he says he had nothing to do with it. Oh, Your Honor, he did have something to do with it because his license is in the bag in a brick of cocaine. But it's kind of funny and it feels kind of weird, but it is an alternative. It's a dual argument that handles two different issues. A, getting into the bag, and B, hitting him with a charge. Just two different issues. All right. Awesome. Thank you, brother.
No, thank you. This is awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
sir.
All right. All right. So if the person remains silent after they are asked, is that good for abandonment? No, it is not. All right, Sean, you're going to be on deck. My buddy Sean.
Like Sean, he's always around.
I don't like Sean that much personally.
No,
Nah, he's
you know what, Sean, I like you.
Nah, it's at least somebody does. What you got, Sean?
Okay. No, nobody likes me on my shift either.
Sarge.
Hey, that's a lieutenant now.
Oh, that's right. Congratulations. I did know that. You got promoted. Congratulations.
That'll cost you an extra coin.
Yeah, exactly.
So today we had an incident where we had this is going to kind of more be a civil matter. We have a person where DHS is called. They wanted us to go into the house and force their way. And I said, no way, not until I see paper. I can't force my way into the house. They call the judge on the phone and the judge gives an order over the phone to rip the child away and arrest the mother for resisting. And we're just kind of like, man, I'm not comfortable with that. Let's say the two experts.
All right. Well, look, we need a little more context here. I mean, okay. So number one is, okay, so why did the Child Protective Services want you to go into the house initially?
They wanted to check the house to make sure everything was okay with the child.
What was the intel that the child was?
Well, that's the problem. The intel was just that they got a tip that the child was being abused. I said, well, who's the tip from? Is it, I was trying to look for corroboration of the tip.
Right.
Is it an anonymous tip? Is it, who was it? And they just couldn't answer. And I said, I'm just not comfortable with that if you can't answer where this tip came from.
Okay, excellent. So far, so good. So Sean, two things. Number one is that you need cooperation for a truly anonymous tip. Unless you have like an active shooter type of situation, the courts will give you some leeway to make a temporary detention. But when you're talking about going into a home, that's not to be taken lightly. You need cooperation. The other thing is we also know that judges everybody has a soft heart or soft spot for kids.
Right.
But at this point, we're not in. So what else do you have?
So
go ahead.
At that point, the mom comes out with the child and says, well, you're not coming in the house. And that's because we later learned that there was somebody who was wanted inside the house.
All right.
And she comes out with the child. The child looks fine to us. I mean, we're not experts. But then the DHS worker says, well, I'm going to call the judge, your local judge, because we have reason to believe that this is an exigency to take this child right now.
Okay.
And so they obviously knew more than what we did. And so the judge gets on the phone and we put the judge on speakerphone because we want it on our camera and our body cams. And the judge is like, yes, I'm ordering you verbally to take the child in possession at any force necessary. And if she resists, then she can be arrested.
Well, but the child is outside the home.
Yeah,
Yes, the outside. Now the child is outside the home.
Well, why wouldn't you be good with that?
Well, because it's just a verbal order over the phone. And that was the question from a lot of the deputies is a verbal order just as good?
No, it's not. It's not just as good. This is a very unique situation.
Right.
But look, as far as the Constitution goes, at the end of the day, you have a government agency who's taking this risk. They're the ones saying, we're going to take this child. And they're the experts at child abuse and so forth. Because the child is outside the home, I would have probably like, yeah, if you know that's a judge on the phone and they're saying take that child, I will let them take that child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I told the deputies, I wasn't on scene. This is afterwards. Of course, they're all coming to me once I come to shift. And
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, the liability, if you're going to go that route, liability's on DHS. They're the ones that are extenuating the facts. Then the second part of it's going to be on the judge.
Yeah,
Not,
look,
not us as the deputies.
hold off on that though. There's
Okay.
a caveat to that. That's not quite true, because what this is called the keeping the peace liability.
Okay. Yep.
That is Cook versus Sadal. So Soldal, if I'm saying that correctly. But the point is that when police keep the peace while other people are implicating somebody's Fourth Amendment rights, you own it. However,
Okay.
however, I got to tell you, Sean, I believe that this seems right to me. Like, you have a judge who obviously is who is this, their job is to help you. You know, they're telling you to do it. I think you do it. And if that same judge would have been like, hey, go into that house and grab that kid, I would not do it.
Okay.
Well, unless you knew personally that there was an emergency going on.
Right.
However, under these circumstances, I think you got CPS telling you we need this kid. You got a judge telling you you need this kid. I think you just allow them to take the kid and we just go from there.
And that's what we did.
All right. Yeah, I think that's the right answer.
All right, cool. Thank you guys.
It's a very unique situation, by the way. And I'm not telling you in any certain terms that I know the answer to that, but I think that if I was on scene as a legal advisor, based on what you just told me, the kid is leaving that house, at least temporarily, and the mom can go to court and figure this out.
Perfect. Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right, Kevin, do you want to ask your question on live? And go back up to turn Sean's mic off. Okay. All right, Kevin. All right, brother. See if you can turn on your mic from there.
Hello.
All right, brother. What you got?
Hey, this is kind of just a what if question, but for those, I feel like I've heard you mention them before. For those ongoing nuisance issues, particularly real loud house parties, how far, if you try and make contact with the owner and there's either just so many people there that you have no idea where the owner is, they're not coming to the door, or they come to the door and they tell you to kick rocks, but they're not going to turn down the music. How far can you kind of take that to actually make sure that the music's turned down when you're getting calls from the neighbors?
I have my answer. Let's see what Mike thinks.
You know,
You've been in these calls, Mike.
yes,
Plenty of times.
yes,
This is
and-
Vegas, baby.
Yeah, and we've handled them ways and we've handled them other ways.
Yeah.
The problem with this, it's a problem, it's a nuisance, it's an issue, and it's a thorn in our side. But when you start taking a step back from this here, when you start talking about making an entry inside the home, the protected castle, you've got to give justification, exigencies, urgency, emergency. You're going in there if you don't have the warrant, you don't have consent. You know, our fantastic crew we like to talk about here. Where's your recognized exception in there? I think is the analysis we have to look at.
And Kevin, I was getting a little feedback, so I just put your mic on mute temporarily, so just so you know. But look, here's the deal: there are, as far as going into backyards, I think I'm good with, because it's an ongoing nuisance, and so the Supreme Court has said that curtilage is treated like the home itself, and you know, but I don't want to teach you that being in the backyard is exactly like being in the kitchen.
Right.
The word like is the word similar. Clearly, I think the courts require more to be in the kitchen than they do the backyard. At the same time, I can tell you, Kevin, that I have cases that have upheld officers forcibly entering a home to shut down the large party because they considered it an ongoing nuisance that is not reasonable to wait for a warrant. But I got to tell you, in 2023, I personally am not going to recommend to my clients or my officers that they barge away into a home to turn on the radio, and it's not worth the use of force. Okay, I'm just sorry. It's loud music to me in 2023 is not worth, because you're going to end up fighting this guy. I would just rather, unfortunately, the neighbors are going to get annoyed. Now, the other thing is I'm not walking away. Okay, these people are not going to win the day. I'm just going to get permission from a judge to shut the party down. Many jurisdictions have telephonic warrants. Just get a telephonic on this, get judicial approval so that when you use force on this person, you got the backup of a judge. That's my viewpoint. Not everybody's going to agree with me, and that's how I feel about it.
I want to ask you something. You talked about the backyard, like the home itself.
Yeah.
So when we show up on these calls, how do you want those cops to approach?
Oh, okay.
Door first, and then work our way there, right? Not straight to the backyard.
I want them to barge right in and shut it down within 10 seconds. So I want them to take their time. And when I say I want them to do step by step, because here's what I don't want. I don't want some drunk people showing off their guns like I show off my guns.
Yes.
Oh man, check out this new AR that I have. And you know, and then the cops come in there and they mistake what's going on here and then start getting to a shooting when they could have avoided it by police, flashlights, you know, bullhorning if we need to. That's what I want. Does that make sense, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
And Gerald, the Girl Scouts might walk into your kitchen. You never know. They're very persistent.
Yeah, Thomas, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Thomas, loud party calls are an ongoing nuisance and there's a form of agency. Let's answer a question. We are a little over our time. Let's go for you good for another 10 minutes?
Why not?
So, yeah, exactly. So, all right. So our officer from Texas, this is a TSA question. Let's just get down to business.
Yeah.
If somebody does not comply with TSA rules, I call this the point of no return, right? And the guy gets paid. The point of no return for TSA is when you submit to the screening process. When does that occur?
You show some sort of identification, you've presented a boarding pass, you've actually done something affirmative to begin the process of screening.
That's actually a good way of saying it, because if a guy goes up to the TSA person and say, hey, I need your license, you know, your ID, and the person goes like this, oh man, I forgot my license, let me go to my car. They have not submitted to the screening process, they cannot be detained. But once they submit it, or they try to say my name, or I forgot my ID, can you please just do a pat down, you know, whatever it is, then they're stuck. Now, it is against federal law to turn around and leave. So what are these local police officers to do? If the TSA guy says, hey, you know, Mike Boone, he was waiting for the x-ray machine and he turned around and left. Can we detain him? Yes. Can we arrest him? I don't know. Because the problem is if you're a local police officer, you need a law to arrest them. You do not enforce federal laws. You're not a deputized, unless you are. Mike was deputized at one time as a DA.
Yes.
So if you've been deputized and you're a task force officer, good to go. You can enforce federal laws. But if you've not been deputized, you cannot enforce federal laws. So you can detain for the feds. And because TSA also has real cops that can come out and do this, or the FBI and so forth. So you can detain for that. But if they're not going to come out and they're not going to make their own charges, make a report for the U.S. attorney and let them go. Go ahead.
Do take a look, though. In Nevada, we do have a couple of state ordinances that talk about compliance with airport rules. So there are some things that local and state officers can take action on. So just take a look at those, see if there's something on your books.
Look, if you have a law, like you have an airport rule, the one in Nevada says that basically the airport police officers are going to adopt federal law that has to do with the airport. That means that they can enforce that. They just cite that ordinance. But if you don't have anything like, and they probably have that like in Texas, but I'm only guessing. All right. Anybody else have a question? If not, let's answer one more question from the list that I have that I get like all the time from cops. What is this one? This parole question. Let's skip that one. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. All right. So, hello, Joe. Hello, Joe. So I'm sorry. What am I doing here? I'm all mixed up. I'm actually talking about, there was something put in here.
Oh, top of the page.
Okay,
There we
look.
go.
So we basically have a guy who is this the one about recording the traffic stop?
Yes, it is.
So let's just kind of get down to brass
Yeah.
tacks here. Joe, stand by. We're going to answer your question, but this one is about, can people detained by law enforcement, can they live stream the encounter? Mike, what do you think?
Well, we're talking a great old First Amendment now, aren't we, sir?
Yes, we
All
are.
right, so there's a couple of things that I know you and I have spoke about, and it's becoming more and more of a topic to speak about because there's so many of the First Amendment auditors out there going on. So there's a couple of things. They have the right to record us. We are in a public place doing a public job. They have the right to record us.
Mhm.
But there are some limitations, and what we've spoke about is this person live streaming to 100 some odd people like we are?
Mhm.
And while they're being detained, they are eliciting a response to come down here. My rights are being violated. Come down here.
Yeah.
Come surround these cops. Let's do something about this. Now we're looking at something where they have the right to do that, but now they're inciting a potential serious safety issue.
Yeah.
So I see that is if we're looking at being able to turn somebody's off, if they're doing something like that, I think that our actions are reasonable.
Yeah. And Sean is talking about a 25-foot rule. Arizona had a 7 or 12-foot rule. I got to tell you that those laws I haven't read that law, Sean, but I can tell you that any kind of foot rule is suspect. I don't think that the legislature should be making it that strict, because you can be in a situation where the person cannot record because they can't be, there's no 25 feet to even, and so they could be closer. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Okay. Look, do what you got to do. I'm not your legal advisor, but here's what I'm going to tell my people. If somebody is recording you during a traffic stop, a detention and so forth, including live streaming, do not shut it down unless you have specific facts to believe that you are in danger. Or, maybe they're recording NCIC information and so forth. I mean, have a reason, but generally speaking, you are a little stuck. When it comes to live streaming, let me give you a little pro tip. It looks really good when you say to the person, you shut it down, like, hey, shut off live streaming because they're calling people to the scene, or you think that they're a gang member and you're in danger. But then say, hey, you can't live stream, but you can record to your phone. Go ahead and record to your phone. It actually looks really good. Okay. So, all right, Joe, can it wait for 2 seconds? 2 seconds. Let's put Joe on the line because we're almost done here. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
What I said? All
Absolutely.
right. It's kind of tough. You're making case law here. All right. No. Hold on. All right. Joe, you should be seeing it on your end.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. What you got, brother?
There we go. All right, so keeping in tune with the whole open container concept, for the sake of argument, we see an open container, center console, we do a probable cause plain view search of the car. Open the door, and let's say the first thing we see, kind of just for the sake of argument, in the door are some loose blues, fentanyl pills.
Oh.
The remainder, so because the reason for the search was, open container, potential DUI, what have you, can we now expand the search, the remainder of that search, in places that blue or fentanyl could be? Or would it have to stick to the original reason for the search of the open containers, and the blues would kind of be a plain view type deal?
What do you think, my friend?
Joe, do you have the right to be and right to see when you see those pills?
Yep.
Absolutely right. So do you know that those pills are illegal? They're fentanyl, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So then you can expand that search, because you just, again, the articulations. Why do you think that scope of that search includes there's more pills in there? What are you going to tell? What would you tell the judge? Hey, I saw these. Whatever else is going on, to expand your scope, just justify it.
Yeah, you're good to go. You're good to go. I mean, that's a drug search now, and drug searches pretty much get you the whole car in most circumstances.
Yep. Good deal. Thank you much.
You're welcome, my friend. All right, Gerald, you're going to be the last question of the night. You got a little, right? You ready? Or yeah, I think if somebody has one more question, we'll take it. We're having a good time here. We do enjoy this.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald, let's do this.
The glass is empty, but
yeah, actually, you're right. We got to get some of that till number 2. All right, Joe, what you got?
So I feel like you put me on the spot here, so I don't want to sound like an idiot, but here's my question. You mentioned like the First Amendment auditors and the recording and the sensitive information. If I don't want a First Amendment auditor recording inside of my car, and I leave my in-car computer open with NCIC information on there, what does that do for me? Anything or just nothing?
No, probably nothing, because what you should do is shut your laptop. I mean, the thing is, yeah, and Sean kind of just, we can't shut people down because you exposed information. I'm kind of talking about, I mean, I said NCIC because I run through my head about scenarios about, is there a situation where, somebody could be recording information that really we can shut them down? The answer is yes. But in that situation, if you are typing on your computer, you're in your passenger seat and you're running people, and you see this guy behind you and he's legally present and he's recording you, I'm sorry, like it's just something that we're gonna have to deal with, and maybe ask them to move. If not, move to your driver's seat. You'll probably be in the travel lane then. He can't be in the travel lane. That's what I would like to see. But if you can't do that, God, I mean, look, I'm sorry. I'm not going to go hands-on with somebody because they see NCIs from, I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to do it. It's going to be very rare indeed.
Oh, and I'm totally good with that. Like, I don't mind being recorded at work. I'm like an open book. I was just curious because the way you mentioned it earlier.
I said it, but I should be
These
careful.
don't
I should be careful because when I first started teaching about first amendment auditors, I started thinking about, because NCIC information is it's definitely private. We don't want people's social security numbers and so forth being exposed.
Right.
However, do your like for my audience here, do your best job to prevent that on your own. And as a last resort, I guess you can move them back so they don't get social security numbers. And I think the court would understand that, but it's going to be an extreme case indeed.
Yeah, my thing is I kill them with kindness. I explain that everything they're doing is okay, and then I recruit. I give them the phone number to the sheriff's office. I tell them that we're hiring, and I know they're going to post it on
my
YouTube,
God.
so it reaches a
Get
wide
a bunch
audience.
get a bunch of felons working over there, huh?
All day long. Bring them.
Yeah,
I like it.
we got people with needles in their arms saying, "Hey, Gerald said I can come by and get an application."
Everyone's
And I get a
motivated.
signing bonus for every one of them. Let's do it.
Oh, see, there's the motivation.
Yeah, exactly. All
Well,
right,
thanks,
good,
guys.
good stuff, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, I thought I had something to teach, but I think we're good, right? I think we're good. Do we have any more? Okay, so guys, that's our show. That's like as the you know who the Hodge twins are?
Yes.
That's a good, we had a good show for us. And that was a good show. All right. So we thank you guys for what's Rick? You got one last one? One last one. Do you have one last question? Is that what you're saying, Rick? One last question and we're done? Oh, what?
Wait.
Oh, me? One of these, Rick? My producer over here? Jesus.
Man,
Talking about working us,
put an
huh?
overtime.
I mean,
slot, guess,
seriously.
Geez.
No,
Oh, we
no,
we talked to
Gerald's good. Gerald's good. Jesus.
Yeah.
All right, trying to work us. Guys. Okay, man, Ricky, I think Rick was like taking a break. You know?
Oh yeah, Rick's drinking. Yeah, not us.
All right.
Us.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week. If you asked a question, please make sure you email richard@bluetogold.com and say, hey, I asked a question tonight, and give your address, your physical address to Rick so we can send you a challenge coin. Guys, God bless you. Thank you, my friend Mike, for being here tonight. It's been a hoot. All right, that's all we got for you. Let's shut it down so we can go have some time off. All right, thank you guys. Let me shut this down. Hold on.